Send money to Gambia for free! You can now send money via MoneyGram to AfriMoney in Gambia anytime, anywhere. Simply go on to MoneyGram.com or the app and select Pay through AfriMoney to send. Make sure the receiver is registered on AfriMoney in Gambia or get them to dial *777# to register. Instantly, the money comes into their AfriMoney wallet. No hassle, no wait times, complete ease. Cash out at any AfriMoney agent or AfriCell outlets. Free cash out, no sending fees.
Do you enjoy spending time online with your friends on social media? If so, then AfriCell has the best offer for you. Activate the social media bundle for $10 is only and enjoy 40 megabytes valid for 24 hours. WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, and Viber all for $10 is only. Dial 120# and press 3 to activate the social media bundle. No need to subscribe every day. It will automatically roll over for your enjoyment. AfriCell Social Media Bundle. Let us socialize.
Good evening from our studio here in Sarakunda. This is Star TV News with me, Mumudo Bailabari. In our headlines tonight, President Barrow emphasizes unity and national development in Foni. Arinwa 3-day AGM concludes with new commitments to combating transnational crime. Paradise Foundation unveils powerful songs advocating against sexual and gender-based violence. On the international news, residents are forced to mix cooking oil with petrol in Gaza. OSCE ministerial meeting opens with fury over Russia's FM's participation. Parthenon marbles road derails talks between UK Sunak, Greece, Mitsotakis. Do this and many more coming. Stay tuned. Many thanks for joining us. As the Meet the People store reached the West Coast region, President Barrow held his first joint meeting in Fonyi Nyantempo, where he called for unity and national development in the area. Hadi Jaju brings us this report.
Before the meeting, President Barrow conducted visits to various government ongoing projects in the Lower River region. He was warmly welcomed by the residents of Fonyi Jarol, Bondali and Kansali constituencies respectively during the meeting held in Nyantempo. Chief Omar Koli of Fonyi Bondali requested the government to harness the land in Fonyi and suggested that at least 5 hectares be designated in every part of Fonyi for smart farming. According to Koli, this initiative will not only create employment opportunities for the youths, but also combat irregular migration.
Banku mimbe Fonyi kono at least akata nyanga 500 hectares soto pour smart farming do ko ekiji.
Keba Tumani Sane, the National Assembly member for Fonyi Jarol, expressed gratitude to the President and the Minister of Higher Education for establishing the Nemban and Kanilai training centers in Fonyi that are part of the University of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology, USET. Mr. Sane emphasized that development cannot be achieved by the government alone. Collective effort is required. Commended that the President prioritized security by offering improved salaries to ensure the country's safety.
Higher Education Minister because even if we kela nyajole baikang ka ndamban la tanko university yale anikalilai mbafle ko jarama.
Representing women, Aisatu Jifanga Jaju of Fonyi Bintang Karanai expressed appreciation for the government's projects spanning various socio-economic sectors. She acknowledged that these initiatives have empowered women and created opportunities for all Gambians. Agriculture Minister Demba Sabali reports on the government's agricultural projects in which many communities and farmers have benefited.
His Excellency Lotale Ayajeko, Fonyi Jarol, Fonyi Bondali, Fonyi Kansala, Nimano Mealuka Wafi, Dalsi Keme, Dalsi Wilkili Keme Lulu, Akawafi in Dula Sabobedo, Purkala Balu Solean.
Addressing a large crowd in Fonyi, President Barrow outlined his development projects in Fonyi, which include improving access to health services and upgrading and expanding hospitals.
Building Biam Hospital. Banjun hadat biam do lopitan do nano sanu nujutum jartu manuga yokube sede kunamba wala banjun reka to buyam dum liggam merar moyta joni wala ma approve inshallah nanele bio buraka bukira ku approve ko kono mi halna on wondema ala regu mame mati.
Overall, President Barrow's visit to Fonyi highlighted the importance of unity and national development, the government's commitment to smart farming, establishment of training centers, and empowering of women demonstrate an ongoing effort to enhance the country's progress. For Star TV News, I am Hadijaju.
The recently concluded three-day general meeting of the Inter-Agency Network of Asset Recovery for West Africa brought together member countries and stakeholders with the aim of strengthening objectives and addressing challenges related to transnational crime. The event, held at the Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara Conference Center in Bijilo, proved to be a momentous occasion in the battle against illicit activities in the sub-region. Mori El Baji has more in this report.
Arinwa, known for its efforts in providing effective investigative capabilities and promoting regional cooperation, marked its 10th annual general meeting with a deep-rooted ambition to intensify its role in mitigating the impact of transnational crime. The meeting provided member states with a platform to identify and develop solutions to the challenges they face throughout the year. In his closing remarks, the Arinwa president, Jacinto Fernando de Santos, speaking through an interpreter, applauded the successful three-day gathering, acknowledging the moral backing provided by the government. President Jacinto Fernandez de Santos said the three-day assembly availed the member states the opportunity to find solutions for the challenges they face over the years.
And we were able, during that period, to look at the essential matters, the challenges that our region faced with. And I hope that the focal point of the Gambia, who are part and parcel of this network, would submit the report on the contents of our deliberations. I would also like to thank the people of the Gambia for its legendary hospitality that we have benefited from during this meeting. I thank the Gambian government for the logistic support provided to us.
The Deputy Director of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Jibril Gour Seka, read a statement on behalf of the Minister of Interior. The statement highlighted the government of the Gambia's unwavering commitment to supporting the activities and programs of Arinwa.
The domestication and implementation of relevant UN conventions, such as the United Nations Convention against Transnational Organized Crime and the 3 drug conventions, as well as various ECOWAS instruments, is enough to explain the Gambia's political will towards global efforts against organized crime. Ladies and gentlemen, the Gambia is a founding member of Arinwa and have since been an active participant in all its activities through the 3 national focal persons representing the Ministries of Interior, Justice and Finance. This representation reflects the multi-sectoral approach to counter the acquisition and retention of criminal wealth.
The government of the Gambia recognizes the serious threats posed by transnational crime and acknowledges the need for a concerted effort to combat it. By actively participating in Arinwa's initiatives, the government aims to contribute to regional stability, peace and security. For Star TV, I am Modu El Baji.
In a significant move to combat sexual and gender-based violence, the Paradise Foundation launched a groundbreaking initiative on Thursday evening. The organization has introduced a compelling collection of songs aimed at raising awareness and advocating for an end to sexual gender-based violence. Our Children and Women Affairs correspondent Mariama Dem reports.
The launch of the initiative took place on Thursday evening, the 30th of November 2023, aligning with the observance of the 16 Days Against Gender-Based Violence, a global campaign that runs from November 25th to December 10th each year. The Paradise Foundation chose this occasion to unveil 3 powerful songs produced by prominent female artists Mariama Job, Sambu Suso, and Awa Bling. These songs, titled 1313, Bajen and Bulfale, conveyed important messages through the medium of music, aiming to inspire change, promote understanding, and encourage dialogue surrounding gender-based violence. Mariama Cham is a social worker, and she had this to say.
And these are issues that happen in our homes, in our schools, in environment and workplaces. And most of the time, we find it very difficult, especially service providers, for people to report cases. Like Aisha was saying at the beginning, that we are living in a society where when these issues happen, we tend to put it under the carpet. We tend to, try to dodge away from these services that are provided in the hospital or in the police. And the arts Bajan and then the music that is going to be demonstrated or that we are going to listen is very instrumental.
The Paradise Foundation's Executive Director, Isa Balde, emphasized the significance of these songs in addressing the urgent issues of violence based on sexual orientation and gender.
The reason for coming up with the songs was mainly to address issues of the gender-based violence. I think my colleagues Eden Nene Ofalo alluded to the fact that women don't speak out. Why? Because sometimes the violence is conducted by a family member. It could be an uncle, a brother, or even the father. So, and the first thing that comes to mind is don't break up the family. As a result, women keep quiet. In the society, there are lots of norms that have been normalized. And one of the everyday violence that we face, and at Paradise Foundation, our 1313 line, the main calls that we get are marital issues, domestic violence. Women being left abandoned with their kids to fend for themselves.
The project was funded by the UNDP Peace Building Fund, showcasing the organization's unwavering commitment to combating sexual and gender-based violence and provide supportive care for women to enhance their safety, dignity, and rights. The launch of these powerful songs was a remarkable event filled with captivating performances, insightful discussions, and networking opportunities for individuals committed to combating sexual and gender-based violence. The Paradise Foundation's Tahawu Jigeni initiative specifically focuses on supporting women by providing accurate and supportive to enhancing their safety, dignity, and rights. Bajan Aisatu Di Sawane is a member of the Paradise Foundation. She highlights the need to put a stop to gender-based violence to foster a safe environment for all.
I always say that gender-based violence is a daily confrontational issue. So in order for us to achieve the total eradication of gender-based violence, we need to deal with it directly, effectively, and a daily confrontational attitude to be able to get rid of gender-based violence. Gender-based violence doesn't have any space in our lives. It has long-term ramifications. If children are born and brought up under a house of gender-based violence, they are going to grow up to be and do the same thing they have seen from childhood. That's why it's important. It has trickling down effects.
Through this groundbreaking initiative, the Paradise Foundation is making a significant contribution to the global movement against gender-based violence. By leveraging the power of music, they hope to raise awareness, inspire change, and create a platform for dialogue surrounding this critical issue. Maria Madem, reporting for Star TV News.
From that report, we'll be going for a break. When we come back, the news continues. Stay with us.
Nekkal millionaire at Afriso. $3.6 million is to give away. Simply buy a minimum of $10 in credit or data worth $10 to stand a chance of being a millionaire. To enter the weekly and monthly draw, send WIN by SMS to 772 or just call 772 for free. Remember, the more you buy credit or data, the more your chances of being a millionaire. Be that Nekkal millionaire at Afriso, right?
Welcome back after that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is Star TV News from our studio here in Churchilltown. We now take a look at news beyond our borders. Although some fuel has entered Gaza under the troops, it's nowhere near enough. Many Palestinians are using cooking oil to power their cars. Al Jazeera's Yona El Said reports from Khan Yunis in southern Gaza.
This has become a common sight at the handful of fuel stations in Gaza that have reopened. Long lines and crowds of people, desperate to fill their containers with the precious liquid. Some even camp here overnight.
I've been coming here for 3 days trying to get some fuel. There are too many people here because only a few stations are operating. People need fuel to get clean water, for their vehicles, for bakeries, for many reasons.
For nearly 2 months, under Israel's total siege of the territory, no fuel or gas supplies have been allowed into Gaza.
Under the ceasefire agreement, 2 to 4 trucks of fuel have been entering to the southern Gaza every day. About 140,000 liters of fuel. That's nowhere near enough. The United Nations estimates that about 250,000 liters of fuel are needed every day for humanitarian purposes, such as operating generators and desalination plants, while 800,000 to 1 million liters of fuel are going to be needed daily if these cars are going to be operating again.
The shortage has forced Palestinians to find alternatives. One of them is cooking oil, nicknamed falafel fuel, after the chickpea snack. It's what most drivers in southern Gaza are using to power their vehicles. A small quantity of petrol is diluted with vegetable oil.
I need my car to work and feed my family. I know it's bad for my health, mine especially because I'm a cancer patient. But what other choice do I have?
With fewer buses and taxis on the roads, donkey carts have made a comeback. They provide a source of income to those who've lost their farms and businesses.
With this war, we're living tragic times, so our carts are becoming a mode of transportation. There is no fuel in Gaza and no cars are operating. People need to get around, sometimes to places that are far away, and donkey carts are the only way.
Delegates from over 50 nations gathered in the 30th OSCE Ministerial Council. The focus on regional security is overshadowed by condemnation of Russia's war in Ukraine, prompting some countries like Ukraine, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland to boycott due to Russia's Foreign Minister Lavrov's presence. Lavrov says the OSCE is on the edge of a precipice. Al Jazeera's Hari reports.
The very presence of the Russian foreign minister at this gathering led to a boycott by Ukraine, Poland and the Baltic nations. Bulgaria refused to let Sergei Lavrov's plane through its airspace.
Sergei Lavrov followed by...
And once he was introduced, several delegates walked out. His message when it came was that the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe had been captured.
The OSCE is essentially being turned into an extension of NATO and the European Union. The organization, let's face it, is teetering on the edge of a precipice.
Some members blame Russia for pushing it to the brink. OSCE monitors left eastern Ukraine after Russia's full-scale invasion last year, but the organization has issued several reports on alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity by Russian troops. Now Moscow is accused of deliberately paralyzing the body's decision-making process and starving it of funds.
The Russian government's deceitful game is, and always has been, to use its brutal war of aggression against Ukraine to also destroy organizations that rely on peaceful coexistence and cooperation. And we will not allow that to happen.
Others, though, have cautiously welcomed Russia's presence here. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, calling it a means of keeping multilateralism alive. And there was full-throated support from Hungary.
The weapon deliveries prolong the war, and we don't need war, we don't need weapons in the region. What we need in the region is peace.
It's conflict, though, that prevails in Ukraine and in East-West diplomacy. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera.
Finally, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak escalated his war of words with the leader of the Greece on Wednesday, accusing Prime Minister Mitsotakis of trying to grandstand over the Parthenon marbles. Mitsotakis said the dispute had helped draw international attention to Greece's long-standing claim to the aircraft. Al Jazeera's John has more from Athens, Greece.
It's not happened before, at least in living memory, a British Prime Minister refusing to meet a Greek one, and on the subject of a national cause, the reunification of the Parthenon marbles being held in the British Museum with those remaining in Athens.
When it was clear that the purpose of a meeting was not to discuss substantive issues for the future, but rather to grandstand and relitigate issues of the past, it wasn't appropriate.
In the shadow of the Acropolis Museum, built 14 years ago specifically to house the reunited collection, Greeks were incensed.
It was unheard of behavior from a British Prime Minister to a colleague from the European Union.
Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis made light of it, saying the snub had backfired, giving the Parthenon marbles more global publicity. But there were other topics the two leaders didn't get to discuss as a result, like migration.
I think this was quite unexpected and surprised us unpleasantly and caused a negative impression here. I think Sunak and the Tories face a popularity problem a few months before general elections, and he wanted to make an impression.
Greece has been asking for its marbles back in earnest for at least 4 decades, and the vast majority of Greek society supports that cause. This government has been pushing hard for a deal that would lend the British Museum other treasures in return for the marbles' permanent repatriation. Lord Elgin's removal of the sculptures was controversial from the moment it happened more than 2 centuries ago, and no one here expects a quick solution. But the Greeks did at least expect the courtesy of being heard. John Psaropoulos, Al Jazeera, Athens.
That report from Greece brings us to the end of this edition of News Bulletin. But before we go, we look at our main headlines once again. President Barrow emphasizes unity and national development in Foni. Arinwa 3-day AGM concludes with new commitments to combating transnational crime. Paradise Foundation unveils powerful songs advocating against sexual and gender-based violence. On the international news, residents are forced to mix cooking oil with petrol in Gaza. OSCE ministerial meeting opens with fury over Russia's FM's participation. Parthenon marbles road derails talks between UK Sunak, Greece Mitsotakis. That's it for this edition of today's news. Thank you very much for watching. Do stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs. Until then, have a very good night and a wonderful weekend ahead.